Gabby, I feel like I just took a forest bath watching that film.
It's a good one.
It's really good.
Yeah, my friend Clara did this. They're images from the Celtics site in the UK and my ranch in Uruguay. It worked out well.
So beautiful. Thank you for being here. I want to, we want to get into your brand, which is very known, I think, for being sustainable. That was, your sort of reason for being was to bring sustainability to luxury, but also has really become a women's empowerment brand. And tell me how the two are related, sort of how sustainability, is related to women's empowerment.
If you look back at history, and now I'm studying Maria Gimbutas, which is an archaeologist, over nearly Neolithical times, women were empowered. We were taking care of agriculture. Mm-hmm. And we did the weaving, and we did the pottery, and we governed in a matrilineal line. This is all artifacts in old Europe. So nature and our rhythms are completely aligned. The dominion of women and the dominion of nature came with the patriarchy. Mm-hmm. Control women, control nature. Mm-hmm. And so they are completely intertwined. And this is what I'm really focusing on it right now, how it's proven, and they have all the data too of how they correlate.
And for you guys who don't know, Gabriela goes to school every season. She picks, a female figure from history, and she'll have people come in from the outside and do lectures. She comprises these amazing books with scrap, pictures and facts and everything. How do you zero in on a figure to focus on? I mean, some of the ones that you have built your collections around are Leonora Harrington, Eileen Gray. What's your process for finding these heroines?
There's a curiosity, mm-hmm. and also they come to me. They all have something in common. Hildegard of Bingen was a polymath from the Middle Ages, that if she was a male, we would know her name as Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, she ran an abbot. She would have a fight with the Pope. She created this incredible music, murals, a powerhouse, medicine woman. And its history kind of doesn't appreciate the power that they have in that structure. And they come to me and I study them, and I'm fascinated by them. And they all have this correlation of they see a path and they go for it. And they always, even Maria Gimbutas that I just mentioned, she confronted the whole archaeological establishment of what the thought process was at the time. So they are out-of-the-box thinker with a mission. I like to call them witches, in quote, but it's really women, as the title of the conference says, Women in Power. Mm-hmm.
So the newest one you're focusing on is the architect you mentioned. It's a little sneak peek of the next collection. Yeah. And so, what drives that passion? And I think we talked a little bit about this in a recent interview. Where do you get your sense of women being able to do anything and kind of wanting to put that out into the world through your work? Where does that come from?
I even get happy from entering a place where the title is Women in Power. So I'm very comfortable here. I feel safe. I just know the capacity. I grew up with a very strong female figure. My mother was competing in rodeos. I'm always challenging what the male look would be of what a man should do. My mother was competing in rodeos, second dan of taekwondo, really challenging, changing the status quo of what a woman would be. But I have, collection after collection, I have a true love for women. And the biggest compliment I get is when a woman said to me, I had this meeting and I felt so good in your suit, or I had to talk in this conference and this I mean, it's the most empowering part for me to know that there's an armor for this woman of action. Mm-hmm.
And you've also incorporated female artisanship into your collections. Why was that important to you? And tell us a little bit about that.
It's not only important, it's needed in the world that we live today. But I'll give you a specific example of what we're going through now. I work with Manos del Uruguay, which is translates to Hand of Uruguay. It's over 50 years old. I've been working with them my previous brand as well. So it's an organization that empowers women in my country by having them to stay in the location, because there's this migration that happens from rural to urban, and the quality of life doesn't really improve. So empowering women in their locations, you empower community. This is the data point. But for example, I'm also working with, in Bolivia, which is called Madres and Artesanas, mothers and craft women. And Bolivia has one of the most incredible embroidery and crochet in the world. I mean, they're so good at it that sometimes they do surgical instruments.
Really?
And we work with Madres and Artesanas, and it's really hard to, we're doing the show in Paris, it's really hard to ship Paris, New York. It's also very costly because of the work that they do. And then when you hear the stories that a lot of these women were victims of domestic abuse, and the moment that they start earning more money than their partners, the abuse stops. Again, this is women in power for a reason. So we have to do it. And for me, it's essential that any brand in the world needs to understand that we need to employ others because there's a reality that we're all living.
Yeah, we're in the middle of New York Fashion Week, and I think a lot of times it kind of gets forgotten, just all the hands that do go into making things, and also how this is, fashion has traditionally been women's work, and can still make a real difference to, economics in different countries and stuff.
And it's also what makes us human.
Yeah.
These hands.
True. Yeah, and I love how you've invited some of the artisans to your fashion shows, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I invite everyone that inspires me, and everyone, yes, they're all coming.
And do you think that this has become a selling point of your brand, the fact that you do empower women, and that you have certainly dressed some very important women and continue to, made First Lady Jill Biden's inauguration night ensemble? Do you think people come to you knowing that this is a value that you have?
I think they come, I always believe in people come to you because of this desirability of the product. And so you need to design. If you can weave the values, your good intentions, then even better, because this empowers. And I truly believe that that's the difference between a product looking good and feeling good, the ingredients that you use and the hands that did it. But yes, it gives me a lot of pressure when I see one of our top-selling sweaters, the Lauren sweaters, that it's weaved in Uruguay, and other women love it, and it's women empowering women, and I get to see that chain, and it makes me happy. So it's a big win for me.
I was in your Madison Avenue store a few days ago, which was packed. I think it was on a Saturday. Congrats for that. And how does your team communicate these stories? Because they can be kind of complicated, right? I mean, particularly sustainability is a complicated story to tell, and I assume that they are able to communicate it, though, right?
Yes, I'm doing these videos now at the beginning of when the show finishes, where I explain everything I do has a purpose, and I choose every fabric that is in every collection, and there's so many details that are not seen, but they mean something, and they're there purposefully. They're nothing that is not thought through, but yes, they do. This is the team that communicate the most, but there's a lot to do in storytelling.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know, but one of the first things that we started doing was putting silver lining inside our pockets to stop the radiation of your cell phone, so women wouldn't put it in. Because a doctor told me over 10 years ago, take care of where you're putting your cell phone, because it wouldn't affect your reproductive organs. So I found this fabric, and I put it. I try to put so much into the garment to give our women the best.
To add value, yeah. And going back to sort of everything having a purpose, we were talking recently for a story, and for those who don't know, Gabrielle is from Uruguay and grew up on a ranch in a very remote place. And I think it's safe to say that the look of your brand is very based on sort of your gaucho heritage. Tell me about that and how that influenced your thinking of things needing to really have a purpose.
Yes, I was actually talking to my mom yesterday. You have to imagine growing remote, right? The closest city is 90 kilometers. And so when you're that remote, there's no place to shop, there's no place to, you have to be, everything needs to be repurposed. So nothing gets to thrown away. They need to think a place where you need to put it. And you will be sitting in the furniture that was there from your great-grandmother, and everything is made utilitarian, but of high quality because it needs to last. So really, Gabriela Hearst is run with those values of long-term view and sustainability, of really not getting too distracted on the trends or the things that move very fast, of a steady pace.
And certainly sort of the different pieces that you carry over, like, you know, leather and boots and kind of, you know, the rugged knits, all of that is also from your background, right?
Rugged in looks, but soft to the touch.
Like it, I like it. Another remarkable part of your story is that you were the creative director of Chloe in Paris for 2 years? 2 years. 3?
3.
3 years. And you were the first Latin American woman to have a role as the head of a Parisian fashion house. You know, I imagine that you encountered some, I don't know, you know, cultural differences, let's say, in Europe. How was it, you know, being a woman in the world of luxury fashion, which is still dominated by male designers? How did it go for you?
I think like the overall thought process is that I think we need to listen to women more. I think that's why the key factor is we are the consumers. We understand water retention. We understand our body changes. I think listening to women more is not only beneficial for our industry, but for the world. I love the title of this conference. And let me repeat this, like, this is living the dream.
And you know, you've also been very politically outspoken, you know, supporting female candidates in the U.S. and supporting Kamala Harris now. You know, what makes you feel, I don't know, like you can speak your mind in a business sense, and that it's worth the risk?
One has to be truthful to their values and to what where we all agree. I think we agree that democracy is important. I think we agree that women's rights are important, and I think we agree that we need a climate for all us to develop. So this is what's key. And so for me to not speak out as being a mother and a woman, it feels not right.
And I mean, do you ever get backlash? I mean, you did design a gown that had embroideries of
Bubbles.
Right.
That was.
Yeah. Tell people about that for those who don't know.
Yeah. So Gillian Anderson is a friend. I'll be fast, but it's really funny. Gillian Anderson is a friend of mine. She sends me a WhatsApp saying, would you do my dress for the Golden Globes? I'm like, yeah, I'll do your dress for the Golden Globes. And then we start reaching to her stylist with different ideas, and the stylist says, Gillian is gonna talk to you directly. I'm like, okay. So she has the most beautiful voice. So I get this WhatsApp with this eloquent, narrating, gorgeous voice of telling the concept. And then she's like, and it's going to have yonis, translates to another word for vulvas. And I'm like, so I answer back, so you want a vagina dress? And so let's do it. I think that we need more of them in the world. And I'm all for it. But what's most important is that we have to do it in a beautiful way, right? Because then the messaging gets diluted. And I've done ram ovaries, I've done ovaries in a sweater, so I felt confident to tackle the women's genitalia. And it looks like flowers in my mind.
Yeah.
So it was all embroidered in New York. Each flower took 3 hours and a half to make. And I was, nervous about it because it's a thin line.
Yeah.
But she's such an example of sex positive.
Yeah.
And she can command it, and she's an incredible talent that I shouldn't have been nervous at all.
Yeah.
And she carried on, and it reached everywhere in the world I got a WhatsApp from. It was incredible.
Sure it did.
The vagina dress. Yeah. I will be known for the vagina dress. Proud of it.
Why not? I love it. I love it. I wish we had a picture. You should put that on your sizzle reel, honestly.
Yes.
But we're in a room full of executives, and I'm curious, because you are so incredibly passionate about women in power. How does that translate to the way you run your company?
I think that I feel, for example, I'm never been concerned when I have a team member that says to me, I'm pregnant. Actually, I had at one point, I had like 4 or 5. I know because when I was pregnant, I was so productive. Yeah. We get so productive. And actually, I became even more efficient and productive after being a mother of identical twins. Premature makes it even better. But I think that I know the capacity of women. I know how we govern. I know how we rule. I know how we empower others. I know how we lift others. There's a selfless about that it's in form of who we are. And it worked. When women were a matrilineal in our Neolithic period, we had 1,000 years or more of peace. No weapons, no forts. We need to get a real chance here.
Yeah, yeah.
ASAP.
And I mean, is there anything day to day that you think is interesting or unusual that you do, for women in your company, or that to better understand women's issues, or even in the aftermath of a disappointing election, or something like that?
So that was 2016. First of all, I want to clarify. I'm very lucky. I have a team they're all boss ladies. I mean, it's like we have a shorthand. It's like I growl. I don't even talk anymore. I'm like, they know what I'm thinking about. And it's like, and they're amazing. And I feel really, it's my family as well. But the 2016, we were devastated. I had a cake of the bust of Hillary Clinton. I am never doing that again. It's like, that's a bad
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
And yeah, it was bad. It was like my daughters are like mini feminists. It was devastating. But in order to empower it, we created this board where the day after of all the senators. Tammy Duckworth, Christina, the Nevada, Christina Cortez Masto, and then this senator, Kamala Harris. And fast forward, the Women's March, the 2018, more women in Congress than ever in our history. And we are still challenged, and it's going to be a race. We're about to potentially have we're going to get our first women president.
Hear, hear. So you're not showing in New York this season, so we're going to miss you here this week, but you are heading to Paris. Tell us why, and give us a little preview of what you'll be doing there.
So it's really a show about studying our past, and that the first deities that we ever prayed to as humans came out of the caves, and we started to get consciousness and pray. We prayed female. All our goddesses were female.
Like you see them in the Metropolitan Museum of Art,
Yes.
like the little,
even prior, the Neath of Sais, pre-Egyptian dynasties, they were female. we prayed to female. So I just want to remind people that for a long time, for thousands of years, we prayed female. So maybe if we prayed to female, there's this gratitude and this respect that also correlate, because all the goddesses were related to earth and getting food and planting food and agriculture. So maybe that correlation to the 5 people that pay attention to what I say means something. And then there's just a reminder, so it's goddesses from all over history.
So you're going to summon all of the goddesses
to
bring us luck.
Yes, exactly. People think they're going to a fashion show, but they're going to an invocation.
Well, thank you so much, Gabriela. This is wonderful.
Thank you.